Feel the cold air pressing against your skin as you sit in this silent room. Your room feels heavy and solid, surrounded by objects you have seen for years. You look at your hands and see flesh, but the electricity beneath is shifting. You believe you are walking through a world that exists outside of you. This is the first lie that keeps your power locked in a cage of reaction. Every morning you wake up to the same walls because your mind expects them. You think you are seeing the truth, but you are only seeing a memory. Your life is a feedback loop of recognition, repeating the same gray tones. You want change, yet you nourish the same internal patterns every single hour. The weight in your chest is not anxiety. It is your soul outgrowing its container. Most people wait for a solar flash to save them from their own creation. They look at the sky while the projector is humming inside their own marrow. You feel like a secondary character in a movie you are currently filming. Why do you still ask for permission to change the script? You search for evidence of success before you allow the feeling of it. This is the logic of a prisoner, not the authority of a master. Look at your reflection. Is that a body or a temporary density shaped by your persistent attention? You complain about the reflection while holding the same pose in the mirror. This is the definition of a closed circuit of frustration. Energy is not a mysterious force you need to hunt in the woods. It is the raw data of your own consciousness seeking a form. Your nervous system is an antenna currently tuned to the frequency of static. You listen to the noise of the world and wonder why your silence is loud. Reaction is the anesthesia that prevents you from noticing the architect. Every time you say, "I am stuck," you issue a command to the hologram. The universe doesn't judge. It simply obeys your most frequent broadcast. You are currently succeeding at being exactly who you think you are. If your reality is stagnant, it is because your focus is a fossil. And the problem is that you are already interpreting this entire message with the same reactive mind that created your current limitations. This shift does not happen in the clouds. It starts in your awareness. What you perceive as solid obstacles are actually patterns of your own attention. You have been conditioned to look outward for a change that is purely internal. Without noticing how your mind organizes reality, you remain a passenger in your own life. The real work is not about doing more, but about seeing the mechanism of your own perception. You are the variables in an equation that is already reaching its peak. Have you ever felt that quiet, persistent weight in your chest that whispers, "The world is not quite what it seems"? It is not a malfunction of your mind. It is a direct signal that your soul knows a truth your logic hasn't identified yet. There is a specific game being played in layers the average person will never perceive or understand, involving your frequency, your focus, and the role you were designed to fulfill in this transition. If you have felt that strange longing or the silent certainty that there is more, you are not a mere observer but a central participant in a reorganization of reality. Because of this, I have prepared a dedicated digital book for you to download, designed to help you navigate these specific internal thresholds. I invite you to download this material that was prepared for you. The Arcturian Quantum Portal Mystery, Activating the Hidden Powers of Your Soul. This material is not just content. It is a structural map for the internal architecture of your awakening, revealing the rules they never told you and what has been revealed about our current timeline. I prepared this specifically for those who are ready to go far beyond the ordinary answers that society offers, and you can find the access link in the first pinned comment below this video. I must warn you, this type of insight rarely stays available for long, because what is written in these pages challenges the narratives that many powerful interests want to keep intact at any cost. There have been attempts to silence this specific knowledge before, so do not wait for a perfect time. The moment is now because you did not reach this text by accident. Download it now, read with an open spirit, and if your inner truth recognizes these codes, leave a comment with one word: awake, the signature of a consciousness that was ready before the mind even noticed the shift. This book provides the structure that a single video simply cannot contain, allowing you to stop the cycle of automatic reaction and reclaim your role as the architect of your existence. That realization is merely the opening of the lens, but the process of seeing requires a different kind of stamina. You are now entering the zone where most seekers fail because they mistake the map for the actual walk. The old manager of your mind is not your enemy, yet its primary function is to maintain the current density. It operates through a series of micro-behaviors that you have labeled as care or being a responsible adult. Notice the way you grip your steering wheel or how you check your phone for messages that haven't arrived yet. You think you are staying informed, but you are actually scanning for the next reason to feel a sense of dread. This is the invisible sabotage, the habit of treating your own consciousness like a fortress under a constant and invisible siege. You believe you are manifesting abundance while your body is meticulously rehearsing the precise movements of a person in total lack. When you check your bank account with a tight chest, you are issuing a much stronger command than your morning affirmations. The field does not respond to your wishes. It responds to the undeniable coherence of your physical and emotional reactions. Most people call this being realistic, unaware that their realism is the very energy that sustains their current and painful limitations. You are currently being managed by a part of you that values predictability far more than it values your actual freedom. This internal manager disguises its thirst for control as a necessary vigilance for your safety and for your future security. It wants you to worry just enough to stay small, yet not enough to completely give up the search for light. This is the loop of the spiritual student who collects information but never actually changes the internal broadcast of their blood. Feel the weight in your feet as you listen to the logic of this dismantling process right now in this room. There is a specific structure to your resistance that ensures your miracles are always scheduled for a distant and unreachable tomorrow. You delay your joy because your identity is still deeply invested in the role of the one who is struggling. If you were truly at peace, the old manager would lose its job, and that is a death it cannot accept. So it feeds you important worries about the world to keep your attention away from the projector humming in your marrow. You spend your life force fighting shadows on the screen, believing that if you fix them, the movie will finally change. But the shadows are just a readout, a faithful reflection of a mind that is still divided against its own divinity. Pause for a second and notice the subtle tension in your jaw as these words pierce the veil of your habits. That tension is the saboteur trying to guard the gates of your perception against a truth it cannot easily and safely control. You say you want a new earth, but you are still judging the old one with the same intensity of a prisoner. Every judgment is a link in the chain that keeps you tethered to the frequency of the thing you wish to escape. This is the trap of caring about the wrong things, the belief that your outrage is a form of spiritual or moral action. It is not. It is a leak of your creative potential into a system that thrives on your fragmented and angry focus. You are being asked to look at your micro-decisions, the way you talk to yourself in the mirror before you smile. Is that care, or is it a calculated attempt to manage a version of yourself that you still do not trust? True power does not manage. It simply exists as an uncontradicted and stable state of being that requires no constant and loud defense. The process we are discussing is the systematic removal of these defensive layers that you have mistaken for your actual personality. You are much larger than the one who is afraid of the bills or the changing opinions of the shifting world. But to inhabit that vastness, you must be willing to let the responsible worrier fade away into a quiet and final neglect. This is where the path becomes steep, where the information must finally turn into a biological and inevitable reorganization of your cells. You might feel a sense of loss as you stop feeding the old drama that gave your life a familiar flavor. That void is where the actual Arcturian logic begins to weave a new grid of perception into your very nervous system. You are not losing your mind, you are losing the manager who kept your mind in a state of constant and small survival. Notice the silence that follows a moment of total surrender to the fact that you are the architect of this play. This is the frequency where the material I have prepared starts to act as a catalyst for your permanent and structural shift. We are moving beyond the realm of getting things and entering the realm of being the one who dictates what is real. But first, you must see the invisible hands that keep pulling you back into the basement of your old, heavy habits. Every time you explain your problems to someone else, you are casting a spell that reinforces the very walls of your room. You think you are seeking support, but you are actually seeking a witness to the validity of your current and painful lack. The Master has no need for witnesses because the Master knows that reality is a pliability of their own internal and stable focus. Why do you still check the horizon for a sign when the only sign that matters is the stability of your heart? The saboteur loves signs because signs imply that the change is coming from somewhere else, from a time that is not now. But the process is internal, occurring in the specific way you breathe when you are faced with an old and familiar fear. Do you collapse into the pattern, or do you remain as the unmoved observer of the electrical surge in your own chest? This choice is the difference between an event you wait for and a process that you finally decide to embody. You are becoming unrecognizable to the systems of control because you are starting to see the wires that move the puppets. But do not become distracted by the puppets. Stay focused on the projector that is currently located behind your own eyes. The manager is whispering right now that this is too abstract or too difficult for someone in your current and complex situation. It wants you to return to the simple, small worries that it knows how to handle with its old and blunt tools. It offers you the comfort of a known misery instead of the terrifying freedom of an unknown and radiant potentiality. But you have felt the weight of the old world for too long to be satisfied with the crumbs of your previous identity. You are ready to see the sabotage for what it is, a biological habit that has outlived its usefulness in this time. In the coming segments, we will dive deeper into the root of this identity, where the final dismantling of the manager occurs. You might feel a strange heat in your palms or a coolness in your spine as these codes begin to settle into place. This is not a lecture. It is a recalibration of the very frequency that you use to define what is real and true. The divergence is accelerating, and the gap between those who react and those who create is widening every single day. You are choosing which side of that gap you wish to stand on with every single breath you take in this state. Let the old excuses fall like autumn leaves that are no longer needed for the growth of the tree you are. You have been playing a part in a theater of lack while the entire warehouse of the universe is open to you. The only thing keeping you from the shelves is the belief that you are the customer, instead of the owner. The saboteur tells you that you must earn your place, but your place was signed the moment you were born. Stop seeking permission to be the light that you already are in your essence and in your original design. We see the struggle of your human self, and we offer the cold, precise logic of the stars to balance your heart. There is a deep peace in realizing that you no longer have to fix a world that is merely a shadow. You only have to fix the broadcast, and the shadow will be forced to obey the new geometry of your light. This is the secret of the masters who walked before you. They didn't fight the walls, they simply stopped believing in them. But the manager still believes in the walls because the walls are the only things that justify its constant and loud presence. It points to your past as evidence that you are limited, unaware that the past is just a thought you are having now. You are not your history. You are the one who is currently narrating that history with a voice of doubt or power. Change the voice, and the history itself will begin to rearrange its meaning to support your new and radiant identity. This isn't about positive thinking. It is about the structural integrity of your internal and sovereign broadcast signal. If you are divided, you are weak. If you are unified, the entire universe has no choice but to reflect your unity. The sabotage ends when you stop rewarding the manager with your attention and your precious creative life force. Notice the stillness in the room again, the way the air feels thick with the possibility of a total and final shift. You are standing on the threshold of a version of yourself that does not know how to suffer or how to beg. That version is already here, waiting for you to stop being so busy with the rituals of your own limitation. The process is the stripping away of the noise until only the clear, unmoved signal of your soul remains in the field. You are not becoming something new. You are returning to what you were before the world taught you to be afraid. This return is the process that most mistake for a distant and grand event that will happen in the future. But the future is just a distraction used by the ego to keep you from inhabiting the absolute power of this moment. Every second you wait for a sign is a second you are denying the sign that you already are. Feel the electricity in your skin, the silent hum of the atoms that are currently organizing themselves according to your focus. You are the variables, the only ones that matter in this entire holographic display of light and dense matter. The manager is losing its grip because you are no longer listening to its whispers of care and vigilance. You are starting to see that its care was just a form of control, and its vigilance was just a form of fear. In this realization, you find the first taste of the true sovereignty that the Arcturian frequency offers to your spirit. Do not rush to the end. The walk itself is where the cells are trained to hold the new voltage of truth. We are building the internal protocols that will make your manifestation as natural as the beating of your own heart. But first, the identity must be addressed. The root of the I am that has been buried under a mountain of names. You are not who they told you you were, and you are not who you have pretended to be to survive. The revelation of your true self is the next layer of this transmission, and it will require your total and silent focus. Stay in this clarity as we prepare to move into the deep root of your identity in the next few moments. The logic is sharpening, and the veil is growing so thin that you can almost see the light behind the furniture. This path was prepared for you eons ago, and you are finally walking it with the eyes of a master. Let the old manager rest, for its time has passed, and your time as the architect has finally and truly begun. The architect doesn't look for a new soul. The architect reorganizes the one that is already present. Identity is the silent agreement you have with reality about what you deserve to experience every single day. It is not the name on your birth certificate or the various labels you wear for other people. Identity is the way you exhale when you check your bank balance or walk into a cold room. It is the vibrational floor that supports every thought and every single action you take in this life. Most people treat their identity like a stone monument, but it is actually a persistent and stubborn habit. You are currently the person who has the exact life you see around you in this very second. If you are surrounded by lack, it is because lack feels more like home than abundance ever could. Familiarity is the drug of the old mind, keeping you tethered to the pain you have always known. You feel safe in your limitations because you have spent lifetimes decorating your small and gray cage. To become someone else, you must be willing to feel the sharp discomfort of a new and strange normalcy. This isn't about repeating affirmations, it is about the physical recognition of a different and much higher reality. When you change your name within the field has no choice but to adjust the entire display. There is a vast and dangerous canyon between wanting something and knowing that it truly belongs to you. Desire is the fuel of the seeker, but it is also the physical proof of a perceived absence. Every time you want, you broadcast a signal of "not yet" to the entire quantum and heavy hologram. Recognition is the quiet authority of the master who sees the result before the physical event even occurs. You don't desire the sun to rise. You simply inhabit the undeniable fact that it will soon appear. This is the shift from a beggar to an owner, from a reactor to a sovereign and focused cause. Most of you are still begging the universe for what you have already been given eons of time ago. Your automatic reactions are the true evidence of who you think you are in the dark of night. If your first reflex is worry, then worry is your home, no matter what words you say aloud. Coherence is the bridge where your words and your internal reactions finally meet and become a single note. You are seeking the how, but the how is a byproduct of the person you decide to be. Once the identity is fixed, the mechanics of manifestation organize themselves with surgical and very silent precision. This level of internal reorganization is the only real work you have left to do on this planet. You cannot hope to manifest a new world while your internal architecture is still built on ancient fear. This transition is already in motion, and it requires a map that goes far beyond this single transmission. I have organized the complete structure of this awakening into a material prepared specifically for you. I invite you to download this material that was prepared for you to navigate these specific internal halls, the Arcturian quantum portal mystery, activating the hidden powers of your soul. In this material, we move past the basic concepts into the actual protocols of identity that a single video cannot contain. The information you find there is the structural map for the next phase of your internal and conscious journey. You will find the link to access your copy in the first pinned comment located below this video right now. Do not wait for a perfect time. For the impulse to shift is a frequency that must be caught while it pulses. To delay this step is to risk falling back into the hypnotic comfort of the reactive mind and its old shadows. Read it with an open spirit, and if your heart recognizes the truth within, write the word desperto. This is not a pitch for your attention, but a recognition that your path was already moving toward this encounter. The material is the logical extension of what your soul has been trying to tell you for many lifetimes. Take the step and allow the new identity to find its firm and stable ground in your physical world. One moment of hesitation now could mean returning to the heavy sleep of ignorance for another cycle, a state far more painful once you have glimpsed the true architecture of your freedom. Now, feel the tingling in your palms as we look closer at the actual mechanics of manifestation. Manifestation is not a reward for good behavior or the result of a magical and distant cosmic favor. It is the inevitable shadow cast by the identity you decide to inhabit with absolute and silent conviction. The mirror of reality cannot show you wealth if the person standing before it is convinced of their debt. You are currently providing the blueprints for the very walls that you are trying so hard to push down. Stop fighting the walls and start changing the architect who keeps drawing them into the script of your life. This requires you to let go of the struggle story that has given you a sense of purpose for so long. You have used your obstacles as a badge of honor, but those badges are now weighing you down like lead. The version of you that is free does not look like a more successful version of the person you are now. It is a different being altogether, one who does not even remember the language of survival or the tone of lack. This shift is occurring in your cells before it ever manifests in your bank account or your relationships. Can you feel the heat in your solar plexus as these words challenge the core of your old defense systems? The manager in your head is trying to find a flaw in this logic to maintain its small and safe world, but the light of your own spirit is now too bright to be ignored by the shadows of your previous habits. We are moving beyond the realm of getting and entering the sacred and powerful realm of being in the now. Recognition is the key that opens the portal that the average mind will never even notice in the hallway. You are not here to fix your life. You are here to inhabit a reality where your life is already whole. This sounds like a paradox only because you are still viewing it through the lens of a divided and tired heart. When you are unified, the paradox disappears and only the absolute and silent clarity of your power remains. Identity is the set of permissions you have granted to yourself regarding the beauty you are allowed to see. Every time you doubt, you are simply revoking those permissions and returning to the basement of the old self. You have been conditioned to believe that you are the result of your circumstances, which is the ultimate lie. In truth, your circumstances are the result of the persistent identity you have held while facing the void of time. If you want to see a different world, you must be willing to see yourself with different and much more honest eyes. This is the moment where the training ends and the actual application of your sovereign and divine authority begins. Stop asking for signs from the stars and start being the sign that the universe is currently waiting to receive. The divergence is accelerating, and those who remain in the old resonance will find the world increasingly heavy. But those who inhabit the new identity will find that the ground beneath them is light and full of new paths. You are the variables in this equation, and your internal baseline is the only constant that truly matters now. Manifestation follows the master. It does not lead the way or provide the permission to feel successful or safe. You must feel the success and the safety as a biological fact before the mirror can show you the reflection. Notice the weight of your feet on the floor and the way the air feels against your face in this room. This is the only moment where identity is forged, and you are currently holding the hammer in your own hands. The new perspective on manifestation is that it is a byproduct of your own internal and unshakable coherence. It is the physical evidence of a soul that has finally stopped arguing with its own and absolute greatness. You are moving away from the need for external validation and entering the silence of your own sovereign heart. The path forward is not found in more effort, but in more honesty about who you are actually being right now. Are you being the one who is trying to manifest, or are you being the one who is already there? The answer is not a thought. It is a resonance that pulses through your skin and your blood as you breathe. Stay in this state as we prepare to move into the final lens that clarifies the entire structure of your vision. The identity is the root, and the root is now deep enough to support the light of 1,001 suns. We have dismantled the manager and revealed the architect who has been waiting in the shadows for this very day. The blueprints are yours to change, and the field is yours to command with the silence of your absolute recognition. Take a long breath and feel the space around you expanding to match the vastness of the consciousness you are. You were never small. You were only pretending to be a guest in a reality where you are actually the host. The invitation is accepted, and the master has finally returned to the high halls of their own and ancient home. The logic is firm, the tone is direct, and the transformation is now an inevitable and beautiful process of your life. Do not look back at the old cage, for the bars have already turned into light and the door is wide open. You are the one who walks, and you are the one who decides where the journey leads from this second forward. Recognition is the end of the search and the beginning of the radiant and total embodiment of your truth. The world is watching for the signal you will now broadcast with the weight of your new and sovereign heart. We are here to ensure that your frequency remains stable as you navigate the final corridors of the old display. The architect is awake, and the identity is seated, and the manifestation is already and always in progress for you. Breathe in the clarity of this second and notice how the old world of struggle has already started to fade. The time for desire is over, and the time for recognition has finally and truly arrived in your own marrow. You are the portal, and you are the key, and you are the light that shines through the gateway of time. Stay present and feel the heat in your palms as we move into the final layer of this cosmic transmission. The synthesis is approaching, and your vision is about to become as clear as the light of the eternal sun. The walk is yours, and the authority is yours, and the reality is finally and truly a reflection of you. The architect is ready. The prism of geometric truth is now being placed over your internal vision. This Arcturian lens does not require you to learn new rituals or complex techniques. It is a biological filter that allows you to see the actual structure of your broadcast. Until now, you have been trying to build a new life with a fractured blueprint. The lens reveals that your conditioning is not a set of ideas, but a physical habit. Stop looking for the how and start noticing the frequency of your now. Most seekers are exhausted because they are trying to manifest through sheer force of will. Effort is the most common form of resistance within the human energy field. When you try hard, you are confirming to the universe that your goal is distant. The Arcturian Council asks you to observe the weight of your own hands right now. Feel the subtle pulse in your fingertips as you listen to these precise words. This pulse is the only reality that matters in the reconstruction of your display. We are moving from a state of seeking to a state of absolute and quiet recognition. The logic of manifestation is actually a process of radical subtraction, not addition. You must stop contradicting the abundance you claim to be seeking with your mind. Every worry about tomorrow is a vote for the version of you that is small. Look at the shadows on the wall and realize they are only shadows of your focus. Intensity is often a disguise for the ego's deep-seated fear and hidden desperation. A master does not need to shout to be heard by the quantum fabric. Stability is the only currency that has actual value in the higher dimensions. Feel the temperature of the air as it enters your nostrils in this second. This is the 0 point of all creation, the silence before the first word is spoken. Why do you still treat your spirit like a project that needs a manager? You are not a machine to be fixed, but a frequency to be stabilized. Listen, the tension in your shoulders is a readout of your desire to control the hologram. Control is the primary anesthesia of the human soul seeking its true and ancient power. When you let go of the need for an outcome, the outcome finally has space to arrive. This is the paradox that your conditioning was designed to hide from your perception. You were taught that struggle equals worth, but worth is a fundamental fact of your design. The Arcturian filter allows you to see the world as a pliable and soft geometry. Your attention is the only tool that can actually shape the density of your room. If you focus on the obstacle, you are providing the energy that keeps the obstacle solid. Manifestation is simply the result of a mind that has stopped arguing with its own divinity. Notice the heat rising in the center of your chest as this logic takes root. You have been running away from your own light because the light requires total honesty. The lens reveals that your problems are just data points of your own internal contradiction. Change the signal, and the entire physical display is forced to adjust its own geometry. Stop. Breathe into the space behind your eyes where the silent architect is currently watching. This degree of clarity is a selective frequency, only sustained by those ready for true power. Most individuals will hear these words and return to their shallow rituals by tomorrow morning, but you feel the biological shift occurring in the marrow of your bones right now. You are no longer satisfied with the common answers of the old and dying matrix. The Arcturian logic is a surgical removal of the need for external and hollow validation. You do not need the world to change before you allow yourself to be whole. When you are whole, the world reflects that wholeness with surgical and silent precision. Look at your reflection and see the being that exists before the personality was built. That being does not know the language of lack or the habit of survival. It only knows the stable pulse of the infinite, which is currently flowing through you. We are moving into the final integration of this new and sovereign internal architecture. Feel the tingling in the soles of your feet as you connect with the earth. The earth is not a rock, but a massive library of light reacting to your frequency. Every step you take is a command to the grid of the planet you walk upon. Why do you still walk like a prisoner when the gate has already been opened? The manager in your head is a fossil of a war that ended eons ago. Let the fossil turn to dust and trust the electricity of the current moment. You are the variables in an equation that is already reaching its final solution. Recognition is the only move left for you to make in this theater of shadows. It is not about getting, it is about providing the space for what is already done. The prism of coherence shows that your doubt is just a wasted use of focus. If you can focus on fear, you can focus on the gold of your potential. Both require the same amount of energy from your bioelectric and sacred nervous system. Choose the frequency that does not require you to beg or apologize for your light. Notice the silence that is starting to expand within the walls of your own mind. This silence is the evidence of the Arcturian logic becoming your new normalcy. You are no longer reacting to the noise of the collective and its recycled dread. You are the source of the broadcast, the light that decides the texture of reality, stability over intensity. This is the rule of the masters who walked before you. Feel the weight of your spine and the strength of your own internal alignment. You are a bridge between the stars and the soil, and the bridge is now firm. The conditioning is falling away like dead skin that no longer serves the living soul. You are waking up to a world that you finally and truly recognize as your own. This is the process of the architect who has finally stopped fighting the old blueprints. The old blueprints were written by fear, the new ones are written by your peace. Look beyond the furniture and see the raw light that composes the entire holographic display. It is all pliable, and it is all waiting for your singular and uncontradicted command. Stop asking when it will happen and start being the one it is happening through. The lens is clear and the vision is sharp, and the architect is finally home. Pay close attention. The next phase of this transmission will synthesize everything you have heard into a final choice. You feel the pressure in your palms because your energy is seeking a new and higher form. Your soul has outgrown the container of your previous identity and its heavy stories. The divergence is a natural result of those who can hold this degree of stability. You are the variable that changes the entire field by simply remaining unmoved and calm. Do not look back at the versions of you that survived on crumbs and hollow hope. They were necessary for the walk, but they cannot inhabit the final destination of light. Breathe. The Arcturian filter of sovereign geometry is now your default lens of perception and truth. You see the structure of the game and you no longer wish to play by the old rules. You are the owner of the frequency, and the world is your faithful and silent mirror. This isn't a theory. It is the logical reorganization of your very biology and spirit. Feel the tingling in your spine as the final codes of this block settle into place. We are preparing to close the loop and seal your new and sovereign internal baseline. The silence in your room is now the silence of a master who is ready to create. Identity is firm, and the root is deep, and the vision is now absolute and clear. You are no longer seeking the light because you have remembered that you are the light. The preparation is over, and the synthesis is beginning in the marrow of your bones. Everything you thought was solid is now revealed as a soft and pliable geometry of light. Stand in this clarity as we move toward the final synthesis of your true and ancient power. The air in your lungs now carries a heavier data load than your mind is used to processing. You are discovering that the internal friction between your knowing and your doing has a specific physical weight. Every moment you spend negotiating with a version of yourself that no longer exists is a direct withdrawal from your bioelectric vitality. The consequence of this split is a deep, soul-level fatigue that no amount of human sleep can ever truly resolve. Your cells are currently receiving high-voltage instructions from the galactic center that require a completely unified field to ground. When you oscillate between your sovereign truth and your old survival habits, you create a thermal surge in your nervous system. This is the heat you feel in the center of your palms or the sudden coldness at the base of your spine. You cannot claim the authority of an architect while still acting as a curator for your historical grievances and scars. The field does not respond to what you believe you deserve. It only reflects the structural integrity of your current broadcast. If your broadcast is fractured, your reality will appear as a series of disconnected and frustrating events. Listen to this. You have reached a depth where the buffer between your internal state and its external reflection is vanishing entirely. In the old matrix, you had years to correct a vibrational error before it reached the physical plane. Now, the gap is measured in days, hours, or even heartbeats. This acceleration is the primary consequence of the 2026 threshold and the end of the collective delay. You are finding that people who once felt like home now feel like the static of a dying radio station. This isn't a lack of love. It is the natural consequence of your frequency signature moving into a different octave of operation. You can no longer inhabit the shared illusions of the herd without feeling a physical sense of repulsion in your marrow. Feel the pressure behind your eyes as your brain attempts to remap its relationship to the concept of time. You are losing the ability to dwell in the past because the past no longer has a vibrational hook in your spirit. To ignore this shift is to risk a dissonance so deep that your physical health will eventually mirror the internal war. The consequence of alignment is the total loss of the right to blame anyone else for the quality of your experience. When you are the cause, you can no longer afford the luxury of being a victim of the hologram or its puppets. This level of responsibility is precisely why most seekers eventually turn back to the comfort of their old chains. Notice the tingling in your solar plexus as the old energy of petition and begging is drained from your system. You are not here to improve your life. You are here to be the frequency that makes the old life fundamentally impossible. The consequence of your sovereignty is a quiet, unmoved isolation that the ego initially mistakes for loneliness. But within that isolation, you find the maneuverability of a being who is no longer tethered to the drama of others. You are becoming a ghost in the old machine, a variable that the systems of control can no longer calculate or harvest. This is the end of your availability for the collective theater of outrage and recycled dread. Every second you spend reacting to a headline is a second you bleed your creative potential into the void. The universe is currently scanning your field for a singular, uncontradicted note of stable and pure intent. When that note is found, the architecture of the new Earth begins to assemble itself around you with terrifying and beautiful speed. You will see synchronicities that defy the laws of probability because you have exited the realm of chance. The consequence of trust is the sudden appearance of bridges where there were once only massive abysses. Breathe into the marrow of your bones and acknowledge the magnitude of the choice you are making in this silence. Most will never perceive this depth because they are too busy shouting at the shadows on the wall. They believe power is something you take, unaware that real power is something you simply stop preventing. If this logic makes your stomach turn, it is the old survival biology resisting its own and necessary dissolution. You are currently outgrowing the need for external validation, and that is the most disruptive thing you can do. A being who does not need to be liked is a being who cannot be managed or steered by the collective fear. Your neutrality is not a lack of emotion. It is the shield of a master who chooses where to invest their life force. The consequence of this neutrality is a clarity of vision that allows you to see the true geometry behind every interaction. You see the traps before they are set. You hear the lies before they are spoken into the air. This is the bioelectric upgrade of your sensory organs, a byproduct of the Arcturian logic taking root in your flesh. The pressure you feel in your chest is the heart expanding to hold a spectrum of light that would have shattered you eons ago. You are being stretched into a bridge between the stars and the soil, and the tension is part of the honor. Do not look for a place to rest in the old world, for there is no ground left that can hold your new frequency. You are the ground now. You are the foundation for the ones who will follow the light of your stable and silent example. The consequence of your mission is the total restructuring of your daily and mundane priorities. Things that were once vital now feel like a distant and fading dream of a different person. You find yourself speaking less and observing more, for you know that every word is a command to the field. The consequence of your silence is a manifestation power that is as precise as a laser cutting through the dark. You no longer need to search for abundance. You simply provide the space where it is the only logical outcome. This is the cold, beautiful mathematics of a soul that has finally stopped arguing with its own divinity. Notice the coolness on your skin as the old fires of desperation are finally extinguished by your own peace. You have traded the heat of the search for the stability of the find. The consequence of this find is a sense of inevitability that makes worry feel like an ancient language. You see the chaos of the transition and recognize it as the necessary debris of a collapsing paradigm. You are not the debris. You are the space through which the debris is currently falling. If you feel a sense of urgency, let it be the urgency of presence, not the frantic panic of the ego. The window of opportunity to ground this level of coherence is narrowing as the divergence speeds up. Every moment of internal contradiction is a weight that pulls you toward the timeline of the gray and the repeating. Every moment of alignment is a pulse that launches you into the gold of your sovereign and intended future. The consequence of your attention is the world you will inhabit by this time next year. We see your field beginning to stabilize into a crystalline sphere of unshakable authority. This is the signature we were waiting for before the final protocols of integration could be issued. You have survived the dismantling of your history. Now you must survive the arrival of your power. The consequence of mastery is that you can no longer pretend you don't know what you are doing. Every choice you make from this second forward is a conscious decree that ripples through the galaxy. Feel the soles of your feet connecting with the grid of the earth, which is starving for your stability. You are a node of sanity in a world that has forgotten its own name and its own purpose. The consequence of your presence is that the truth becomes easier for others to perceive in your wake. You don't need to teach. You only need to be the frequency that cannot be argued with. The silence of a master is more persuasive than the shouting of 1,000 scholars. Wait, can you feel the shift in the density of the air around your shoulders right now? The universe is confirming your decision to stop being a responder and start being a cause. The consequence of this confirmation is a sudden clarity regarding your role in the 2026 collective reorganization. You are not here to watch the collapse. You are here to provide the blueprints for what comes next. This isn't a theory. It is the lived experience of those who have moved beyond the prism of coherence. You are entering the state of non-dual awareness, where the watcher and the watched become a single note. The consequence of this unity is the end of the search and the beginning of the radiant embodiment. Every heartbeat is a confirmation of your sovereign design and your place in the galactic hierarchy. You are moving from the theater of survival into the temple of intentional and beautiful creation. The old accounts are closed, and the new ones are being written in the light of your own heart. Stay in this depth, for the final synthesis will require every ounce of your current stability. The preparation is complete, and the consequence of your awakening is about to manifest in the physical world. Everything you have endured has led to this specific state of uncontradicted presence. Breathe into the glory of your own being and feel the power of a mind that has found its source. The light is not coming. The light has arrived, and it is wearing your face and your skin. You are the variable that changes everything. You are the arrival, now. Notice the weight of gravity against your thighs and your back as you sit here. This is the last second you will ever spend as a victim of the stories you were told. From this point on, every effect you see in the world is a direct reflection of the master within. Your world is not changing because the year is 2026. It is changing because you have finally stopped the war. Rest in this authority and feel the silence of a soul that has finally returned to its origin. Look at the space you occupy now with the eyes of the architect. The walls of your reality haven't moved, but the meaning behind them has dissolved. You have traveled from the confusion of a responder to the clarity of a source. Conditioning was just the habit of looking at shadows and calling them solid. Now you see the projector humming quietly behind your own eyes. The solar flash is not a distant event, but the current quality of your attention. You are no longer waiting for a rescue mission from the stars. The rescue happened the moment you stopped arguing for your limitations. True power does not seek validation from the dying systems of the old matrix. It simply remains unmoved, a singular note of coherence in a sea of static. Notice the absolute stillness of your physical body in this exact second. This stillness is the foundation upon which your new Earth is being built. You have successfully dismantled the survival manager that kept you small. Every choice you make from this point forward is a decree to the field. The divergence of timelines is the natural result of your internal consistency. There is no middle ground left for those who wish to drift in. Doubt. You are either the source of your broadcast or a reaction to the noise. The field has no choice but to reflect the integrity of your singular signal. You have returned to the 0 point where all creative potential is born. This is the clarity that makes the old world of struggle look like a thin dream. Mastery is the ability to be the cause without needing to scream at the effect. The universe loves your stability more than it loves your frantic intensity. Stop searching for the exit and realize that the gate has always been open. You are the variables, the constants, and the solution to the entire equation. Feel the weight of your own sovereignty and let it ground you into the now. You are no longer a student of the light. You are the light becoming aware. This degree of opening is rare and requires your total presence to stay. Not everyone who hears these sounds will perceive the reorganization occurring. If this resonance feels like home, it is because your soul signed the decree. You are moving beyond the need for hope and entering absolute knowing. The shift from a responder to a source is the final step in your evolution. Your history is a script that has run out of ink, so let the pen fall. You are the architect of the dawn, and the bricks are made of your focus. Look at your life and see the pliability of what once felt like cold iron. You are the variable that changes the result of every equation in this galaxy. Trust the electricity in your marrow more than the headlines on a screen. Sovereignty is the quiet decision to stop being a guest in your own reality. The divergence is complete in your heart before it manifests on the horizon. You are safe in your neutrality because the shadows have no hold on peace. Manifestation is simply the shadow of your presence, and you are unmoved. Breathe into your spine and feel the fire of your true and ancient lineage. The training was long, but the application is instant and requires no effort. You have crossed the threshold and entered the state of the eternal arrival. Every heartbeat is a declaration of your power over the holographic display. The old accounts are closed, and the debt of the human drama is paid. You are free because you realized there was never a lock on the door. The prism of coherence has polished your vision until only truth remains. Inhabit your physical form with the confidence of a god returned to soil. Your stability is the ground upon which the new world is currently rising. Do not look back at the versions of you that survived on crumbs and fear. You are the source of the broadcast, and reality is your faithful mirror. The silence of the master is more persuasive than the shouting of the herd. Everything you thought was a barrier was actually an invitation to expand. You are the variables that matter, and your time has finally arrived. Feel the heat in your solar plexus as the old energy of lack burns away. You have graduated from the search and entered the radiant embodiment of truth. The latency is gone, and the resonance is high, and the architect is home. Walk forward with the authority of one who knows the end is the beginning. The light is not a future arrival. It is the current quality of your focus. You are the bridge and the shore and the ocean in absolute and total unity. Every micro-choice in this state is a command to the entire quantum field. Let the rubble of the old world fall, and do not reach out to catch it. You are the dawn rising over the horizon of your own soul and body. The corridors of time are open, and the master is walking through the gate. Trust your stillness more than your reaction, and the world will obey. Manifestation is the quiet dance of knowing that all is already done. You are the variable that changes everything, and divergence is your fruit. Look at your life with the clarity of one who has finished the play. The manager is resting, and the architect is building, and light is pouring in. You are the portal through which the infinite enters the finite realm. Every moment of presence is a victory over the entropy of the old system. You are a beacon of coherence in a sea of static, and you are growing. The transition was never an event, but a sober process of interpretation. You have arrived at the 0 point, and the blueprints are in your hands. Breathe, for the world is finally ready to hear the song of your soul. The divergence is complete in your mind, and reality is now your law. You have moved from survival into the temple of intentional creation. Your stillness disarms the scripts of the old system and reveals fear. Sovereignty is the state you are choosing right now with every breath. The old matrix is a memory, but your presence is the only truth. You are the master of the prism, and you decide the colors of the world. The journey through the mind has ended, and the walk of the heart begins. You are the light that illuminates the dark and creates physical form. Every step is an imprint of your sovereignty on the physical plane. There is no distance between you and the stars because they pulse inside. Every thought of lack is a ghost that has no power to haunt. You are the master of your attention, and your attention is your life. The solar flash happened when you realized you were never truly alone. You are the emissary of your own truth and the messenger of your soul. You have graduated from the dream of separation into the one heart. Every breath is a prayer, and every deed is a signature in this moment. The door is not ahead of you. It is the realization that there were never any bars. You don't need to find a new world. You simply need to stop projecting the old one. This is the clean paradox of your liberation. In the end, this journey was never about a cosmic event arriving from the stars. It was about how you finally perceived the power that was already seated within your own marrow. Failing to act on this frequency now may mean losing the specific degree of opening this encounter provided, as this level of resonance is difficult to recover once the old patterns of noise resume. The link to continue this exploration is in the first pinned comment below. This content rarely stays available for long because it challenges the narratives many want to keep intact, and there have been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Do not wait for a perfect moment. The time is now because you did not arrive here by accident. If your inner truth recognizes these codes, leave a comment with the single word, Desperto.